We now have 3 RSs that for your consideration. Karen Echeverria. Karen, did I say that right?
Echeverria.
Echeverria. I apologize.
That's okay. Karen's just fine.
Karen, you and I have a similar problem there,
yes,
don't we?
Do.
Karen, we turn the time over to you to introduce the first RS, which is 21811.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I'm Karen Echeverria, Executive Director of the Idaho School Boards Association, and thank you for allowing us to present to you today. Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, I'd like to take just less than a minute and provide you with just a little bit of a background and an opening statement, and then I'll address each of the RSs.
Okay, please go ahead.
These next 3 RSs will address various pieces of collective bargaining and teacher contract issues. This past November, at the Idaho School Boards Association annual convention, the entire membership, made up of 560 locally elected school board members, approved a resolution brought by a local school district that addressed these issues. Voting in the ISBA is a weighted vote based on the student population strata. So locally elected school board members in large districts receive more votes than do locally elected school board members in small districts. At that convention, the entire membership voted by a margin of 3-1 to bring these measures back before the legislature for your review, discussion, and hopeful approval. The membership of ISBA believes that as elected officials of their local school districts, they are responsible for the long-term, prudent fiscal management that their patrons expect and require. In order to comply with these expectations, they need to have the ability and tools necessary to effectively and efficiently run their districts. At the same time, the membership of ISBA heard the concerns that were expressed by the Idaho Education Association and their members during the recent campaign. Those concerns were twofold: the union's ability to negotiate more than just salaries and benefits, and the protection of their tenure or continuing contracts. To our knowledge, no other concerns were expressed about the collective bargaining and contract issues during that campaign. And as such, the ISBA will not be bringing any legislation to address those 2 issues. The membership of ISBA believes that these 3 RSs and 4 that were introduced in the Senate yesterday will assist them in their endeavor to effectively and efficiently manage districts and to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollar. We would ask that you agree to print these RSs and bring them back for a full hearing and debate. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll move in. And it's 21811 is our first RS, is that correct?
Yes, Karen.
RS 21811 contains 2 elements. The first element of this RS would require that all master agreement negotiations be held in public. It also sets out the posting for notices of those open negotiations. The second element found in this legislation would give the local school board the authority to impose their last best offer during negotiations should both sides be unable to come to an agreement. In order for local school boards to be able to manage their yearly budgets based on the dollars they have for the upcoming year, a decision needs to be made prior to the beginning of the fiscal year. If no agreement is reached, it should be the locally elected school officials who make that decision. We are presenting this RS in conjunction with the Idaho Association of School Administrators, and we ask that you print RS 21811, and I'm glad to stand for any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Representative Ward Engelking.
I have one, I guess. Mr. Chairman.
Please go ahead.
And Ms. Echeverria, did I say that right?
Very good.
I guess it bothers me that this particular bill was or RS was basically on the ballot, and our constituents, voters, spoke about this. I don't think, I have a real problem with the public negotiations, but it seems to me that when you're negotiating and one side can enforce the last best offer at a given point, it kind of puts all the marbles on that person's side. So could you just talk about that? What's the incentive for both sides to give and compromise when one person knows or one group knows that at the end of this time their offer will be accepted?
Mr. Chairman.
Karen.
Representative, first of all, both parties have to negotiate in good faith. and good faith is defined. And if you're not negotiating in good faith, then all of that can be voided. So I think that's the first thing. I mean, the second part of it is you indicate that all the marbles seem to be in one place here. And I go back again to these are locally elected officials, and it is their responsibility, statutory responsibility to manage the district, and that includes the finances of that district. So it ultimately rests on their shoulders to make that decision if no agreement can be reached.
Representative Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Karen, when the vote was made on the three props, and I think these are from Prop 1, are they not?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Nielsen, that's correct.
Throughout the state, was there districts or precincts or whatever you want to say that did actually support Proposition 1? So it wasn't a state that said no throughout the whole state in every area. There was some support, was there not?
Karen?
Chairman DeMornott, Representative Nielsen, the Idaho School Boards Association as a whole took a position in support of Proposition 1. And then after the props went down, again, we had this resolution come through our business session at our convention. It was voted on by all of the members, all of the school districts, and it was supported 3-1 by the school districts in our state.
You ready for a motion?
Representative Shepard.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion.
Motion is always in order.
I'd like to move that we introduce RS 21811 to print.
Motion is on the floor. All in favor say aye. I'm sorry? There's a roll call has been requested. Go ahead, Representative Bateman.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I have some feeling about printing RSs involving a law that was just turned down by the voter. But as you all know, these laws contain various elements, and it's hard to tell exactly for what reason people voted against these various measures. If we go by the letter of the law, we would not restore the funding. And I don't think any of our voters, very few of the voters would disagree that we should restore the funding. So I think as a legislature, we have the responsibility to sort through these laws and pick out the good parts. And so I think it's appropriate that we do this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
No other discussion on the motion, then roll call vote. Our secretary will do a roll call vote. What's that?
Representative Nielsen.
Use your mic.
I apologize. Representative Nielsen.
Aye.
Representative Shepard.
Aye.
Representative Wills. Not present. Representative Bateman.
Aye.
Representative Boyle.
Aye.
Representative Agidius.
Aye.
Representative Clow.
Aye.
Representative Jestrin.
Aye.
Representative Harris.
Aye.
Representative Horman.
Aye.
Representative Mendive.
Aye.
Representative Van Orden.
Aye.
Representative Pence.
Nay.
Representative Clock.
Nay.
Representative Ward Engelking.
Nay.
Chairman DeMordant.
Aye. So the motion passes by, do the quick math here, it would be 12-3. Thank you. 12-3. Thank you, committee. We now have before us RS 21814. 21814.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This RS sets out criteria for the return of teacher contracts each year, so the school district will know in ample time who is returning for employment. It aligns the return of the contracts with the one-year master agreements. It will also allow the school district to send those contracts via email, return receipt requested, rather than the U.S. mail return receipt requested. This provision will save school districts a minimum of $5.75 per employee in postage costs alone. We ask that you print RS 21814, and I'm glad to stand for questions.
Okay. Any questions on this RS? Okay. Thank you. Motion would be in order. Representative Horman.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve RS 21814 for print.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. The motion passes. Karen, we now have before us RS 21826.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This RS sets out the criteria that a school district can use when considering a reduction in force. The decision to institute a reduction in force has always been at the sole discretion of the Board of Trustees. In the past, seniority was the only factor that could be considered when imposing that reduction. This RS still allows for the use of seniority as a factor in reduction in force if other factors have first been considered. After the consideration of all other established factors, if the candidates are equal, then the seniority can be used. We ask that you print RS 21826, and I'm glad to stand for questions.
Questions from the committee? Representative Bateman.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that RS 21826 be introduced for printing.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Representative Horman,
I had a question.
please.
Mr. Chairman, Karen, is there any correlation between the language in this bill and the position paper that just was released by the IEA on factors related to this?
Mr. Chairman and Representative Horman, there is. We actually use the factors that were listed in their position paper as the other factors set out in the statute.
Any other questions? Representative Bateman. Oh, you just made the motion. Okay, thank you. Then motion is on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate the work of the School Boards Association in bringing this to us, and look forward in the future to a further discussion on these issues.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before she runs away.
Oh, Karen, just a second, if you would, please. Representative Nielsen has a question for you.
I'm very curious. When I came over this morning listening to the radio talk show or whatever it was mentioning the fact that the Senate has started quite a few RSs. And I'm wondering if Karen could bring us up to date what's going on over there so we'll know what we'll be looking at here if they get past the Senate.
Karen.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be glad to tell you about the 4 RSs over there. We had, and we've got 7 of them, so bear with me here. The first one we had was 1-year agreements. So all master negotiated agreements would be for 1 year. There was some confusion in the press about that. I will tell you last night that Channel 7 reported that it was teacher contracts that would be limited to 1 year. And when I called Channel 7, they reported that the AP had sent that out over the news press. So I called the AP, but some of you may hear that it's the teachers' contracts that are 1 year, and that is not the legislation. It is master agreements that would be limited to 1 year. And the Administrators Association has signed on to that resolution as well. We had another one on the ability to reduce teacher salaries and or shorten the length of the contract. And that one also contains information about unpaid administrative leave. So if an employee has a criminal court order against them that prevents them from continuing their contract or providing the provisions of their contract, then the school district could place them on unpaid administrative leave as opposed to paid administrative leave. Then we have one on something called de novo hearings. Right now, when a teacher or a certified employee is terminated or their contract is not continued, if they go through the hearing process at the school district level and it gets appealed to the district court, the record from the school district does not follow to the district court. A brand new trial begins at the district court level. That's unlike state proceedings, county proceedings, or city proceedings. What happens in those is when that goes to the district court, the judge has 2 choices. The judge can affirm the decision that was made by the local entity, or they can say you made a mistake and remand it back to the local authority. So what we're trying to do is get it to be like all of the other actions that we are aware of. And the third one, what's
The fourth
other
one.
Representation, 50%.
Oh, 50% plus one and majority ratification. And what we're saying there is that the local education organization must prove that they represent 50% plus one of the members in order to negotiate on their behalf, and they have to prove that annually. And then once the agreement is reached, both parties, the local school board and the local union, must prove that it's been ratified by their membership.
Thank you, Karen. Representative Nielsen, did you want to?
Turned it the wrong way, didn't I? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Karen, when you're saying there was one of those bills contained the contract relationship between the employees and the school district, and was there a 2-year maximum on that for that contract?
Are we talking about teacher contracts,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Nielsen?
Karen, can I suggest this, Representative Nielsen? Can we, when we have the opportunity to consider the bill, can we ask the questions at that time? Would that be all right? Rather than going into the bills at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there's nothing else to be brought before the committee at this time. The committee will stand adjourned, and trying to think of whether we're meeting tomorrow or not. Do you know? My secretary, I apologize, folks. That's, half my brain is gone because she's been sick for the last 2 days. So listen on the floor to find out if we're meeting tomorrow. What's that? Tomorrow is Wednesday. We are meeting. Okay, see, my page knows. All right. We are meeting tomorrow, so look forward to that. Thanks so much, and we now stand adjourned.